started on recording. Okay, George, where's George? If you want to wave out. George Hilton is on the board. Rick Sands, there's Rick's secretary, and Keith. George, by the way, is vice president, and Keith Clarkin. And Keith, I don't know if you want to raise your hand, but Keith is member at large. So so that's the board member. Also tonight, we have Anthony Arefice. Anthony is from Penbridge.
Greg?
Yes. Do you hear us, Anthony?
Yeah, everybody's muted. Okay.
Anthony? Anthony, you having problems? Whoops.
This is Roberta Candy. I want you to know I could not get on from the link in your email. It wouldn't work. So.
Hold on a minute. Yeah.
I can't hear you.
Turn up the Anthony.
not sure
Turn up the volume on your computer, Anthony.
We can hear him.
We can hear Anthony.
Yeah, but he can't hear us because he doesn't have his volume turned up.
Oh, all right. Let me all right, let me try that. Thank you.
Okay.
Is it
I
working?
don't know. I have to figure out how to get back to that there.
Anthony, can you hear me speaking?
Yes, I can.
Okay, well then it's working.
All right,
That's
and you can
Roberta.
hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you, Anthony. Yes.
All right, so we're good.
Yep.
All right, good. Thanks. Right, see
You're
ya.
welcome.
Anthony, I just introduced you.
Oh, hello.
Anthony's from Penbridge Property Management. Anthony is our agent and the owner of Glen Group.
Can you see Anthony?
Yeah, Anthony, can you hear us now? Anthony? Anthony? What are all those strange sounds? Where'd you go? Anthony, can you hear us now?
Greg, can you hear me?
Yes.
You're all foggy. Why are you all foggy?
Guilty to a misdemeanor and was sentenced to 60 days in full
Can
prison
you see Anthony?
in January.
Okay.
Anthony? How are you doing?
Huh?
You need to come back on. Okay. We'll work through it. You might have to go to where the mute button is. There's a little up arrow you might need to click on.
Mine's on mute.
Michael, you see me okay?
Yeah, you're foggy, but I see you.
Okay.
I mean, the whole screen.
I don't know if that's me or you.
No, I see everybody else clear.
That's weird. Am I foggy to everybody?
No.
No?
We see it
It's
fine.
probably your lighting a little bit. It makes you look a little hazy.
Did you want to share this or can you see? Okay. All right.
I just don't have my camera turned on.
Craig, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
Good. Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
And hey, did anyone else have trouble with the link in the email? No, other people got on, so I'm not sure.
I just went by the numbers. I
Right.
didn't go by the
Yeah,
link.
that's the only way I got on. I couldn't
Yeah.
get on from the big link that you had for this.
I didn't even
for
try that.
I had to go on.
It's weird how sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Well, anyway, with that being said, welcome everyone. Just quickly on the agenda, we're going to talk about the treasurer report and everything related to the numbers and the budget. Anthony's going to give us an update on the culvert situation. We're going to talk about the amendment that we voted on with respect to rental units. And then we're going to talk just Q&A in general. But before we get into it, I just want to say it's been nice getting back, having some events. I particularly want to thank everyone in this community who volunteers for all kinds of things. If you see the decorations at the clubhouse, I know the ladies club has tons of events. We had the pizza night. Peg ran the soup night, and tons of people volunteered. The bingo committee. So it really has felt nice getting back into the swing of things. Without further ado, I will turn the meeting over to Peg, the new treasurer, and I will be putting up some screens for Peg. I sent all the documents to you before the meeting, so we can get on and discuss them. So let me put that first one up there, Peg.
Sure. The first one that Greg's putting up is a 2020 audit. It's just a recap of the year 2020 leading into 2021, okay? And I also want you to all pardon me if I make any errors or mistakes. I am a treasurer in training, okay? So Greg is my tutor. Okay, so to start off the year in 2021, we started with $181,000.67. Okay, our total income for that year for then was $176,606. As you can see there, where Greg, are you moving your cursor over it?
Yep.
Oh, I can too. Yep, yeah, right there. Okay. So then we go into where we have our expenses, and we go into our miscellaneous categories and resale certificates and things like that. Miscellaneous could be anything from room rentals, publications, Redner's tapes. So those Redner's tapes can really add up and help us with the Redner's tapes can really help us get things, get more money into the I'm sorry, that's miscellaneous income. I'm sorry. Miscellaneous income has to do with like the Redner's tapes, room rentals and publications. Okay, then we go down to the expenses. And the only thing is a variable in our expenses is really the snow removal. As you can see, in 2020, we budgeted $14,500. But we only spent $4,742 up until the end of the year 2020. But that can change from year to year. Our total operating expenses, operating fund surplus, we had a surplus of $19,283. Okay. Some of our expenditures for 2020 are listed there above right here are the miscellaneous repairs, gate and fence, clubhouse, drain, culvert. That was the start of the culvert.
Yep.
Lot furnace, tree and shrub, clubhouse windows. That all totaled $65,920. Our fund balance at the end of 2020, rolling over into 2021, was $179,020. And if you can see, 10 years ago, our fund balance was $94,362. So we still have a substantial amount of money in our accounts.
Peggy,
Yes,
the trash removal, since they've been taken over, what year are we on as far as the contract?
Oh,
You're on the third year of a 3-year contract,
What year?
coming up
What
in
year?
November through the 3 quarters of 2022.
2023?
No, 2022.
Oh,
So you'll have an increase that's effective in November through September, through September
we'll get
of
to that.
2022.
We'll get to that when we get to the budget, Michael.
all right.
so that's a synopsis from 2020, which is going to lead us into 2021. And Greg's going to pull that up now. Why isn't everybody muted?
I am going to mute everyone again. Okay. And this coming up is what we're estimating for this year. Okay, Peggy, you're on mute.
Okay, so again, like I told you, we ended last year, 2020, with $179,020. Okay, our total income at the end of December, we're estimating at the end of December, right now, we're going to have $170,870. That's the income. Our expenses at the end of 2021, we're estimating to be a deficit of $6,331. The reason for some of that is that with the snow removal, we estimated in the beginning of the budget for $14,500. We wound up, we're going to wind up probably spending $18,052. This is just an estimate right now, but if we continue, if we get a lot of snow from now until the end of December, that could be up. We have legal services. Legal services, in this legal services, right there where it's highlighted, are some of the legal fees that we incurred for the culvert. We estimated 500. So far to date, we're estimating we're going to spend $3,391. And that gives us our deficit of $6,331. Our revenue, our revenue is $43,600. Our expenses for the plumbing we had done this year, some $250. A dishwasher we had put in. Clubhouse, finished the clubhouse windows. Culvert expenses to date so far is $11,914. Exterior work at clubhouse, decorative enhancements, concrete work. So the total expenses for 2022 that we're estimating to be is $37,013.71. And that would give us the end surplus of $255.17.
What's the culvert expenses? What are we paying for that? I mean, why?
There's no, we had to go ahead with the work on that. We all agreed that we went ahead with the work on it.
What are we doing?
Well, well, first of all, there were fees associated with assessing the damage. assessing a lot of engineering fees associated with the extent of the damage, and then engineering fees associated with the plan to move forward.
Sounds like the condo's taking responsibility for it, which we shouldn't be.
Anthony's going to go over that.
We'll get through a pretty full report on it.
All right,
Where we are with the township. It was felt that we needed to get moving on that. Someone needed to get moving on that. We had to assess whether it was dangerous or not. That was one of the big issues, was this a danger to the community? So we had to get experts to review that. Plus there were exposed electrical lines and telephone lines. So something had to be done with it.
you should build a township then.
Well, we're trying, but we'll get into that, Michael.
Okay, all right, all right.
Everything that's, there's been a lot of work done with the township so far, so. And what Anthony's gonna report on, we're gonna email to everyone in the community after the meeting. All right, we ready for the budget?
The proposed budget.
Yes, Anthony. Oh, yes, I will. Oh, I can't do it. You have to do it yourself. All right.
So this is, in front of us right now is the proposed budget for 2022. Okay, so our estimated income balance, our estimated fund balance starting January 1st would be about $180,000. We're estimating total expenses, income of $171,200. Our expense accounts, we're expecting total of expenses $171,200. Some of that being trash removal is going to go up. So we know we're going to pay more than the $24,000 that we paid last year. So we know that's going to go up. And as far as and snow removal, we're anticipating $14,000 to start off with, but that could go up or come down depending on the amount of snow that we get. The proposed expenses, okay, so the proposed expenses for next year, reserve expenses, are the seal coating of the streets, the additional concrete work, common area expenses, and culvert expenses for a total of $35,000.
$10,000 for culvert.
With the culvert expenses estimated at $10,000 to include in those expenses, we're moving the legal fees for that over to the reserve expenses. And
Okay.
including it all in one. So with that, let me see. And we also put on hold any of the things that we had planned on, any kind of expenses that are going to be, that we thought we would need to do. We're going to try and hold off on as many things that we don't need done.
When's our trash contract up? Next year?
Yeah, the end
November, I
of
think.
20, yeah, the end of 2022.
The end of 2022.
Well, the last quarter of 2022. Yeah.
Last quarter.
Make sure we go out for other bids, because I know these people, they're gonna rip you off as much as they can.
Right, you'll be surprised by the numbers.
What, from other people?
Absolutely.
Lower or higher?
Oh, much higher. Extraordinarily higher.
Yeah, trash has been unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. it's
When you
going up.
negotiated your trash contract with Advanced Disposal, who subsequently was bought out by Waste Management, recycling was a marketable commodity. That's no longer the case. to get rid of recycling right now and for the foreseeable future is probably comparable to trash collection. In other words, historically, if you were paying $20 a unit for trash and recycling, $19 was for trash collection, $1 was for recycling. Because recycling, there's no market for it. It's no longer, a profitable commodity. You're paying as much to get rid of recycling as you are for trash.
That's because China won't trash any longer.
Well, it's beyond China. I mean, China, you went to the, second world, third world countries, like nobody will check because it's all contaminated.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think that in 2022, it's kind of like a cool thing to say. We're going to get a more competitive price than waste management. I would think that what you're paying for trash or recycling right now can be translated to like the good old days. I think it's going to change, radically in 2022.
Even with people like Whitetail or whatever it is.
Whitetail was like they were like a flash in the pan. They came in, it's like, we're going to do your $69. And all of a sudden they're positioning themselves to build their book of business to be sold.
Oh, I understand that. All the small ones want to get bought out.
Whitetail. I mean,
That's what happened to us. The Republic that we went with was a lot cheaper than everybody else. And then they got bought out.
yeah.
There's not many players in the game anymore.
No, exactly.
Now-
I mean, you just like, you've seen this evolution, in banks and in, a lot of different industries, and trash is no, different where, for example, my house, I started out with Chestnut trash removal. They got bought out, I think, by Advanced, who got bought out by Waste Management. And, quite frankly, your service is no different than mine, where it's a little, erratic.
We should be like New Jersey and have a single stream for both of them.
Well, the problem with the single stream recycling is there's no clean recycling. I mean, we have single stream recycling in, 20 of our associations. And the problem is that technically it gets, dumped with the trash because people aren't cleaning out their containers. They're putting in pizza boxes, for example, with grease, et cetera.
All right.
Do they still have single stream?
Oh, absolutely. In theory, it's single stream is still on the, on the agenda. Unfortunately, single stream, kind of mandates certain, restrictions insofar as, processing for example, we have associations where you have all your recyclable plastic containers and people put them in a garbage bag. Right then and there, that's contaminated recycling because of the trash bag.
Well, I think trash is going to go up. Peg,
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely.
Peg, is there anything more on yours? You didn't get your big announcement out yet.
Yes, the board proposes no increase in dues. No increase in dues, and Anthony's not raising his fees either, so thank you, Anthony.
All right.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Any questions on the budget, any other questions quickly on the budget? If not, we'll move on to the culvert discussion. All right. If you, and the, I'm gonna turn this primarily over to Anthony. What Anthony prepared for the community is a report on all the work that's been done with the engineers and with our negotiations with the township over the past year or so. And I'm going to be sending that out to the community, this report out to the community. We're going to stream it while Anthony's talking. So I'll put that up on the screen while Anthony's giving a report.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I see that there's less than 30 people on this call, on this Zoom meeting.
They all moved,
Pardon me?
they all moved away.
Yeah, right. But no, the question is that you say you're going to send out this report from Anthony, but not everybody in the community. Number one, not everybody has email. Number two, there are many people that don't have computer systems and can't get on these Zoom meetings. So I want to be sure that everybody gets a copy of that report and not just by email. And the other point is, why didn't we have a regular meeting? We're doing events at the clubhouse. Why didn't we have a meeting there so people that don't have access to computers could have attended?
Why don't we bring that up at the end, Roberta, for Q&A as new?
Okay,
All right. Good question.
okay. I just want to be sure everybody gets a copy of Anthony's this report that you said you're going to send out.
Okay, make sure everyone gets access. We want to get the other reports too,
Yeah,
up to people.
right.
All right, Anthony, let me turn it over to you and I'll slowly get down through this. Did you highlight?
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so
Yes. Was there
did someone have a question or?
No,
Oh, okay.
Oh. All right, so basically this report is based on a synopsis of what's going on in the past year and, several months. And it also considers unit owners who may not have been unit owners in, say, August of 2020. So that's why the preface basically starts from the very beginning when the tropical storm, came through. Now, a lot of you who are on this call, know a lot of this, but there may be unit owners who have moved in since who, have not been privy to this. One of the things that we've been trying to do is basically confirm ownership of the 4 culvert pipes under Farm Lane. Those are the ones that are deteriorated, that need to be replaced. And if in fact they have to be replaced at the cost of Gwinnett Woods, you're talking about, from the proposals that have come in, $300,000. So obviously, as your property management company, our position has always been, we need to do our due diligence. They're not our pipes. Gwinnett Upper Gwinnett Township has adopted, basically the same posture, saying, yeah, they're not our pipes. So what we've done, since August of 2020, is, kind of two or three things simultaneously. One is due diligence. If in fact there's a smoking gun that points to ownership of those culvert pipes. Number two, as an association, you have an obligation, if in fact they turn out to be yours, to configure a plan to replace them. And I think to whomever's earlier comment, that's where you spent the money in 2020 and 2021. Because there is no definitive document or whatever having to do with ownership of those pipes, Gwca Woods is responsible for moving forward as if they own those pipes.
Yeah, but when they put the development in, that's when all the problems started, because it started to downgrade the piping that was already there.
Yeah, no, that's not true. First of all, we've gone through probably, I'm going to conservatively guess, 2,000 pages of documents from start to finish. And one of the things we found was that those 4 pipes were put in as a result of Gwca Woods being built. That's not a good finding, but that is, and it's listed in, one of the levels, that was the reality. So
But that would
way
have
back
started,
when,
that would have started from the farm on, from Gwca Woods on. Somehow the farm would have had to be discharged somewhere.
yeah, the farm water had one pipe. Once they developed Gwca Woods, our assumption is that they already knew they were going to develop the farm. Didn't happen for like 10 years later, but that's why they put in the 4 pipes. Now, again, Gwca Woods' position is, listen, you put the 4 pipes in because Farm Lane now was kind of a dam, and it was only a dam because, there was going to be another association there. And then another association really didn't materialize until, 10, 15, 20 years later, which is Newberry 1 HOA.
Yeah, but when Newberry 1 was being built, they put the ponds in. Then they found out that, gee golly, there's not enough area or piping to get rid of the water that's coming out of there. And so they put more piping in. That wasn't all built at one time. They added that extra piping on there because it looked like Niagara Falls was coming through there.
Extra piping where?
At the end of Newberry, where the first pond is, they put in another pond because it wasn't enough to take away the water from Newberry. And then
Correct.
where's all that water going to go? All that water is going to come down towards us underneath Farm Lane.
Correct.
Well, then Newberry did that, and somebody had to do some work on it to say, hey, they're responsible for it, or the township's responsible for it.
We couldn't find any
Which is-
paperwork to substantiate that. That's the problem.
Yeah, but there's got to be paperwork saying that they had to add an extra pond in order to get the runoff
There
out of
is,
there.
there is paperwork that they expanded. They did the, the stormwater calculations. And with the, Dodsworth Run, East Prospect Avenue runoff, Newberry HO1, that they'd have to have 3 ponds and the, concrete weir with additional pipes.
Where do you think all that water is going to go? It's going to go under Farm Lane. And
No
even
kidding.
and if it was just one pipe like it was years ago, that piping under Farm Lane would have lasted another 100 years. But I saw that, and I don't have the video anywhere. I don't know where it is anymore. If you looked at when they did put the extra culvert in, the extra piping in, when it rained, it looks like Niagara Falls coming on there, and it's being washed right under the piping of Farm Lane. Now that can't be our responsibility since they put the extra pond there, which created more water. Somebody's got to be responsible for this
All
besides.
right, so my question is, what's your legal and engineering basis? This is exactly what we're pursuing. And if you have a documentation and or, an informed opinion, I mean, trust me, we've spent a lot of time on this, reviewing everything. And when I say everything, it's more than anyone in Gwinnett Woods has ever done or Newberry 1 HOA has ever done. We reviewed everything, which I don't think you have. All Gwinnett Woods records, all Newberry 1 records, all Upper Gwinnett Township records, which were thousands of pages, hundreds of files, the conservation records, Montgomery County Conservation District records, Montgomery County records. And now based on what we've done, your conclusion is what? I'm sorry.
Is that they put the extra ponds in, it created more water. The excess water had to go somewhere.
No, you have to read, you haven't read 99% of what everybody else has read. And, based on the 1% that you've read, you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, when you go through all of these documents, all of the engineering reports, you understand clearly why the 3rd pond was put in, why the additional pipes are put in.
Nobody had
Unfortunately,
a thought that something was going to go wrong at some point in time.
Right, so why didn't they do anything?
well, I don't know. So who am I talking with anyway?
Michael.
Michael.
All right, were you on the board?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, what's your involvement in the Newberry 1 HOA approval process? I'm sure you brought all of this up and, we're very involved in it. What?
Yeah, but not that part. That was just the building part of it.
That part was probably the most important part of like the entire development.
Anthony, are you saying that, what you're saying, I take it, is of all these engineering studies, they never looked at the runoff question through the 4 pipes? That never.
No, they did. No, they did.
Oh, they did?
And it was kind of a.
They were enough.
Didn't they see any problems?
I'm sorry, what?
Did they not see any problems with all the water runoff?
I thought you were involved in this process.
Not the runoffs.
If
We had
you
no-
go
we had-
back and review, which we have, all the documentation, the reports, there was a report from, there's reports from everybody. To make a long story very short, the position of Gwinnett Woods, is and should be that the water that flows through those 4 culvert pipes originates from East Prospect Avenue, Dodsworth Run, Newberry HOA, and at the very end, those 2 stormwater drains on Farm Lane. You know, the position that we're trying to take is that, you know, this is not specific to Gwinnett Woods. It's more of a regional, you know, kind of collection basin.
Right. I would agree with that.
And that's where the regional, you know, stormwater comes in. You know, when you boil all this down, and quite frankly, some of the information we uncovered is damning, you know, to the association. But we're trying to say, hey, listen, you know, there's a, you know, Wissahickon, you know, watershed, and the, you know, Dodge, it flows through here.
It's always.
That may or may not translate into responsibility for the county, the township, Newberry, you know, Newberry HOA, you know, whatever, Newberry 1 HOA.
A Newberry one's not gonna be held responsible for anything. Right?
I have no idea. I mean, if you look at their declaration, which we have, and all of the plans having to do with the construction of Newberry 101, you know, essentially what it says is that, hey, this is what we're going to do. Newberry 101 is going to be responsible for kind of maintaining what we put in. But if there are any major kind of capital improvements that need to be done, you know, Gwinnett Township will do that.
Yeah,
So
that's
basically,
that's when Newberry one was just being built, and they had planned on just the one pond. That was before they found out that, oh shit, this is not going to work. This water's got to go somewhere, and it's going to be more than Gwinnett Woods can handle.
All right.
Somebody must have came up with that thought.
Yeah. All right. So if you read, and we've posted it on the Gwinnett Woods website. If you read what we've kind of done and what the train of thought is, you know, through the 5 levels of whatever, of research, due diligence.
Right.
If you come up with something, you know, more than that, we'd be more than happy to entertain. But you'd be surprised what you think should be there, you know, agreement-wise, dedication-wise, is not. And I'm telling you, we spent, you know, since August of 2020, you know, I don't know how many hours we spent just sifting through this stuff. And it's not, trust me, it's not as simple as, you know, you're representing.
How far back do the records at Upper Gwinnett go? Old records.
Related to what?
Related to the building of Gwinnett Woods.
Microfiche, mid-80s.
What was that?
Mid-80s microfiche. If any of you are old enough to, you know, remember microfiche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anthony, one question I have. Do you think, we all made an assumption, like Michael's doing and others, that something had to have been done. When we had all our reserve studies done in the past,
Yeah.
the engineers who did the reserve studies never mentioned these culverts
Nope,
as part of our expenses.
nope.
Do you think they might have been making a reasonable assumption that this was not a Gwynedd Woods?
I think they made an assumption based on maybe what the executive board's perception was of those pipes without doing, due diligence.
No.
But, based on what we've researched, it probably would have been prudent to reserve for those pipes from day one.
Well, that's like taking responsibility for it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's where a lot of the evidence is kind of pointing in, that direction.
Well, we'll take responsibility, shut off the piping that ends at the,
Yeah, all right.
over there, and then to let their water go somewhere else, and we're responsible for our water.
Yeah, yeah, all right, yeah.
I know.
That's one suggestion
Mike, basically that creates a dam effect. That doesn't do anything but hurt us.
I know. I understand.
yeah.
Anthony,
I just,
And,
I think,
we're all on, let me just reiterate here. We're all on the same page. I
right,
mean, the reason that all of us are like, in this up to our freaking necks is because we're convinced, and this may be like a pipe dream, no pun intended. It may be a pipe dream that, it's not logical that those 4 culverts are the responsibility of Gwynedd Woods.
definitely.
And the logic, emotionally or whatever, lack of factual data, is that the water that flows through there is like 98% coming from somewhere else and maybe 2% coming from Gwynedd Woods.
right.
Right.
You have basically 2 drain boxes, near the JFK, and so you have the water from Prospect down farm that ends up in those 2 drain boxes, and that's it.
I mean, I'm sure you've seen the water that comes down those culverts under Farm Lane when it rains tremendously there.
Yeah,
It's tremendous amount of water.
no, absolutely.
And that would tear apart
Absolutely.
anything more rapidly than it would have been torn apart.
And we've even gone back to what the specifications were for culverts, back when Gwynedd Woods was built. Because, one of my pet peeves was, why didn't they put head walls in on, say, the Newberry HOA side? Basically you have 4 corrugated galvanized pipes poking out of an embankment,
Yeah.
covered with like, rocks,
They figured it's not their responsibility and the township let them get away with it.
Yeah.
and it's like, why didn't they put like concrete?
Well, Anthony, it's a lot like when a Wawa moves into a new neighborhood. They're in charge of all the infrastructure to make it work. Apparently, when they built Newberry, it's like the old saying, your neighbor, if they change the pitch of their land and they flood your basement, they're responsible for it. That's the basic idea, the basic tenet behind it. But you can't build that macadam or whatever the hell that thing is with all the water flowing over and squeeze it down into 4 pipes and expect it should have been rebuilt when they built Newberry.
Anthony,
Ann's here and Tom's here too. You know, I lived here from the very beginning, so did Michael. Okay, so we're not new to this. We got through Hurricane Sandy in this community with no issues. And that was before Newbury was built, Hurricane Sandy. Newbury's only like 7 years old. So I don't understand, you know, once Newbury went in and they put in 3 ponds, now we have this issue and nobody wants to own up to it. And this is ridiculous because if we have to pay $300,000, do you know what that's going to do to us? It's going to ruin us.
Not to mention a lot of people here can't afford that.
They can't afford it. And by the way, Montgomery County is going to raise our taxes 8%. It was in the newspaper. So get ready to get screwed. Tom, do you
Yeah,
have
it's-
anything to say?
Yeah, it's almost as though the developers didn't do their due diligence
They didn't.
and look any farther than Farm Lane. They figured, oh, our responsibility stops at the property line for Gwynedd Woods, and they didn't give a crap about where the water went.
All they cared that we
They
were
got
going to
rid
give
of
them
theirs,
land, a little bit of land so they could put up their fence.
and the
That's all
town-
they cared
And the
about.
township had to approve it. So they're culpable as well.
Right. And then they had the audacity to come in here and campaign for their election when they don't want to help us.
They know where to come for that, but
Exactly.
they know where to turn their head away from it. That's the problem.
Right.
And they
So,
need to be held
you know,
accountable for that.
exactly.
And
So
So
whatever
is our-
lawyer you have, you better
What
get
does our
somebody
law-
better because we got to fight this.
What's our lawyer say?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What has our lawyer said, if anything?
Well, you know, at this point, we're at, you know, kind of level 5, which I think Greg had up there for, you know, a couple of seconds. And, you know, we went to the district manager of the conservation district, who kind of has, you know, jurisdiction over this kind of thing. And, yeah, we didn't get a favorable response. So if you look through what we've done insofar as, you know, research and or, you know, kicking the whole process up a notch, you know, we're getting toward the top.
But the more money we put into it, the more they're going to assume that we're taking responsibility for it.
No,
No?
no, we made that clear to the township that, and we've met with the township on 2 or 3 different occasions. And, you know, the township managers there, these aren't emails, these are like face to face. The assistants there, the township solicitor is there. And, you know, we've made clear that, listen, we're moving along with this project, but we're not assuming any responsibility.
I mean, we can almost sue the township saying that, you know, these records for Gwynedd Woods or somewhere, we don't care where they are. If you lost them, take responsibility for them.
I'm sorry, what's that?
We can almost sue them saying that these records are somewhere, whether on tape somewhere, on paper somewhere. If you lost them, then shame on you. You have to be taking responsibility for it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I don't know that they haven't been forthcoming. I mean, you know, when we reviewed and we spent like 4 hours there the last time.
I think they've been forthcoming as far as they know, but I don't know where they can go to find more information. Maybe it's in, I don't know, maybe it's in Norristown or wherever else it goes. I don't know. But it's just like, it just irks me that we didn't have the problem they were happy with the ponds they have. All of a sudden, the ponds weren't working, so they had to put more in. So they just slapped together some cauldrons and shoved Niagara Falls down a 24-inch pipe under farm lane, thinking, "Oh hell, now it's going." It's just ludicrous to think that I'm not saying Newbury one as the builder should be responsible, the township responsibility, the engineering firm should be responsibility. I mean, there's enough to go around to everybody. There really is. I mean, this is just not right. I can, if we were in the fault, I'd be the first people to say, yeah, we're in the fault, so do something about it. But we're not, or we're not at all the whole thing in the fault.
You know, to look at it as, you know, an objective observer, it doesn't appear to me that Gwinnett Woods had an issue with what was going on.
No, because
You
we weren't a problem with when Newbury one was being built until they started building it and wound up they had to add extra ponds to it. No, there wasn't a problem then at that point in time, but it certainly came to light once somebody somewhere, an engineering firm said, "Hey, listen, we have a problem here. We have to build more ponds and put a culvert." What that date was and where that came about of, but there should be records on that somewhere.
And we went through all those records, and the problem is Gwinnett Woods never objected to whatever the final plan was.
You weren't included in the
To,
conversation.
We
you know,
probably weren't included in
were-
the conversation.
We went to meetings.
We did
went
go to meetings.
Yeah, we went to meetings and we spoke up at the meetings. But everything was like, okay, well, you know, this is going to be postponed. This is going to be postponed. And then, you know, there had to be somebody from the township that had to give approval to add 2 more ponds that was going to
that's not the
inundate
point.
us with extra
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, that's really not the point of the whole discussion, but yeah.
The township is responsible that they told them go ahead and do it.
All right,
Or they should have said, hey, you might have a problem on.
all
the
right,
other
Greg,
side."
you want to move this on, or?
You know?
I mean, we can move it along all you want, but the bottom line is that we as residents should not be responsible. I'm not saying for all of it, but for a large part of it. And there's dirt under the rug somewhere that has to be brought out and found out. Whether it's with the engineering firm
Yeah, all
that
right,
okayed it, or
right.
somewhere.
Yeah, everybody gets
And I
that.
know you're
Thank you.
doing your best. I know you're doing your best, but this may take the lawyer saying, you know, we're going to take you to court.
But
It
we
was the
retained-
engineering.
A lawyer was retained.
Yeah, who is it? Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe? Because
I'm sorry, what was it? Was there a comment there? Or?
No. I mean, before we sign any paperwork or acknowledge responsibility, all 104 residents in this place should be aware of it and have a meeting about it. And I think a lawyer should be involved in it too, saying that, you know, we've tried to do it. I mean, you can shake your head all you want, but go back to the engineering firm that okayed the extra pond and the extra culverts. And who said, oh, we'll just put concrete together and have it all fly down. Somebody somewhere engineering, somebody said yes to it. And that was after the fact.
Anthony, could you sum up what our next steps are, right where we're at right now?
I'm sorry, what?
Could you sum up what we're going to do next?
Yeah, I mean, we're like doing our best. We,
You see,
Meaning-
Anthony?
I'm sorry? We meaning the counsel for the association, the attorney, myself, we're dealing with the Upper Gwinnett Township manager, the assistant manager, their solicitor, the conservation, a representative from the conservation district, Montgomery County Records, and the PA Department of Environmental Protection.
Get us the
Now-
record, get us the blueprints when they increased the ponds and that.
Oh
culvert.
my
That's
God.
somewhat-
Yeah,
you can
we
use
have,
the
we have
paperwork.
that. We have that. You need to do your homework
I
you
don't
don't
show
need-
us to it.
to make, you don't need to tell us what we need to do because we've already done it
Well, you don't have to pay $300,000 either,
based on what?
based on what it's gonna cost everyone total.
Well, we're not at
You don't
that
even,
point.
this is like, this may come down to a legal issue of who owns those pipes. We spent a year and a half researching on your behalf, trying to get you either out of the $300,000 bill or, just chipping into the $300,000 bill. And your position is, listen, I haven't really seen anything, but we shouldn't have to foot that bill. That's ridiculous.
If there's an
I don't
engineer,
even, no.
if there's engineering blueprints that said, yes,
Oh, my God.
we're signing
Come
off on
on.
this, where are they?
No, I'm not even, you know what? I don't get paid to listen to this nonsense. I
Okay,
get paid to listen to facts, and you have yet to present like anything that resembles a fact. I spent a year and a half on this. Didn't cost you anything.
look,
I'm talking about days, weeks, months. And you come in and interject your opinion saying, well, you know what? Guess what?
I-
Yeah, you haven't done your homework to have an opinion, period.
all right, everyone. We're going to keep moving on this, and if we do reach a point of the legal, everyone will know about that, and it'll be a decision here. All right, we will send the paperwork on this. All right. We did want to comment on, I did want to comment on the next agenda item, which was the amendment. Everyone see it up there? The amendment that we asked people to vote on. And let me just say a few words about that. And then I'll let Anthony report on. Anthony was responsible for the voting. It's come up a couple times. I mean, twice since I've been in here, twice on the board, once a while ago, about the ability for there to be rental units in the community. I know we researched it once before, decided that people were surprised that we could rent our units, and it came up. We really didn't move on it, but it's come up again recently with the new board for discussion. This issue of rentals and our ability to rent. For our association, the ability to rent our units is in the declaration. And the declaration that goes back to the founding of Farm Lane. And any changes in that declaration has to be changed through amendments. In our discussions that we were having with different people, the sense was that maybe it's the time we need to look at the position of not being able to anyone who wants to rent units, for people to buy a place and just to use it as a rental, or for things such as Airbnb, which is very popular today. So we looked into this. We asked the advice of our management firm, which is Penbridge, who's seen a lot of these situations and is out there. And given what's been happening in the transient markets today, we felt that now was the time to change this declaration, change and the ability for rentals of units in here. Our main concern was is a developer, anybody coming in, buying a unit and just turning it over to rentals, or strangers to the community just buying properties and using them as rentals, or people using them to say, I'm going to buy a rental and use it as Airbnb. So that has, it was for a lot of these reasons. Anthony gave us some notes about what's happening. I'll let Anthony talk quickly about that, about what's been happening in other communities. One of the things we put in the amendment that you voted on was that the executive board would have the power to grant waivers to the amendment that would prohibit renting. So we recognize that there would be situations that would come up. Maybe a parent is living with a child in the unit. Maybe the parent goes to a nursing home and the child stays in the unit, or maybe there's a brother and sister in a unit. One's the owner, one isn't. One moves out, the other stays. These are the types of situations, I think, these are the types of situations we could see happening in here. And we wanted to make sure that people didn't get harmed in the community by the rule. That's why we put this provision in there, in that rule. So basically, what we are looking to do is for our community to have some control over who is making sure people aren't buying properties to use as rental, and turning people buying properties, turning them into major rental units. Anthony, I don't know if you want to say a few words about, what's been happening, why it's a good idea to make this change.
Well, I guess, I've been involved with property management, I'm guessing like 20 plus years. And, one of the common denominators is that rental units, and I know I'm stereotyping, a lot of times create issues. And the issues, as itemized in the notes, is that whenever you do, not so much, in fact, it doesn't even apply to Gwinnett Woods, but in other condo associations, if you do a extensive violation inspection, when you crunch the numbers, the violations seem to be, and this goes back like 20 years, 2 to 1. Rental units versus owner occupied. So that is like an historic, data point that, rental units, generally speaking, are not a positive, for an association. And, again, when you look through the notes, it's basically saying, well, the landlord, as long as they get their monthly check, they don't really care about the unit or how the tenant is behaving. Obviously, landlords who are living off-site aren't involved in any committees or, likely to be on the board or be a contributing factor to, the benefit of the association. In some condo associations, it's gotten to the point where, obviously not you, where getting a loan, either through, conventional means or FHA means, which, again, doesn't apply to you, there's kind of a red flag that's raised if your rentals are, 25, 35, percent. FHA is, around 50%. Now, again, none of that really affects you, but, generally speaking, rental units don't benefit the association in most respects. Now, specific to Gwynedd Woods, the first rental unit, that you have, it's not going that well. On behalf of the association, we've written several letters, and the letters cite just basic stuff. Prune your plant material, cut your grass, weed your planting beds. Don't have, what amounts to a storage shed of stuff on your back deck. Don't paint your shed silver. Don't paint a tan shed silver when, like, a little kid spray painted, whatever. So your exposure to rentals is probably, at the far end of horrible. But then you factor in that, rentals are, and I'm going to tell you, rentals are never good. Yeah, you have your tenants who are like, yeah, they're live and behave as owners. That's not the majority of rentals. But specific to Gwynedd Woods, the first rental unit that you had, it fell apart from day one. And is the owner of that unit here on the call?
I don't think so.
All right. So, from day one.
She lives in Florida, Anthony.
No, she does. She's local. She has a local address also. So
Bill the renter told me his sister, who he went to visit, lives in Florida.
Well, that could explain a lot. Well, not a lot, but so no sooner, do these tenants move in, and we start getting complaints. And one of the complaints is, basically the guy sitting out in the car smoking. This is kind of weird. And then there's no air conditioning. So that may be part of why he's sitting in his car smoking. I'm not really sure. But then it goes, beyond the behavioral aspect. And it's like, they're not cutting their grass. They're not weeding their beds. They're not pruning their plant material. The back deck is an absolute disgrace, including the awning that's at a 45-degree angle And as a bonus, their AC unit isn't working. So,
Anthony,
So-
they got a new air conditioning and heating this fall.
no,
Or
they
at
did.
the end of the summer, yes,
Yeah,
they had to. But I live next door to them. So I am,
right.
yeah, and Ann's on the other side. So we are dealing with a lot of stuff. But as a real estate broker, I want to reaffirm your statement. Value of neighboring properties go down when there's a rental unit that's not properly keeping its place up to snuff, period. So it affects our whole development value because people ask me, are there rental units in this development?
Yeah.
Appraisers call me and ask me, how many rental units are in the development? And up till now, I've been able to say none. Now we have one.
Well,
Roberta,
actually,
you.
I would,
This is-
go ahead.
I was gonna say, this is a good point, I think, to transition Anthony to the voting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's funny, like, as a management company, we have all this information of 20 years worth of rentals. The majority of it, isn't good. It doesn't, for a variety of reasons, benefit the association. And, Gwinnett Woods, generally speaking, agreed with that. So unfortunately, because your deck, not unfortunately, but the factual information is that your declaration allows leasing of units. So what that means is that you can't just plug something into your rules and regs saying that, all right, we don't allow this anymore. It's a little more complicated than that. It's a little more legal than that. Your declaration is recorded with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So how that translates is that if you want to prohibit rentals, you have to amend your declaration, which, you did. So you have 104 units. The Condo Act basically says that you have to have 67% votes to approve. So in your case, that's 71 votes that people had to say, yeah, I like this, I approve it. So you had 75, at the end of the day, you had 75. You had 6 individuals, who said, I don't like this. But at that point, it passed. So what happens from this point forward is the executive board has to sign a couple of papers. Those same papers have to be recorded, with the county. And then at the point that it's recorded, it goes into effect. And if you read the amendment language, obviously, number one, whomever's renting right now is grandfathered. However, there are restrictions on that grandfathered unit. So, what it basically says is, listen, you rented this place before we passed the amendment. However, if you don't subscribe to, the mandated requirements, and there's a bunch of them when you read the amendment, then, all bets are off. You forfeit. And or number two, when that property is sold, they can't sell to an investor owner. So it's kind of 3 things. Number one, you've put a cap on rentals, you've prohibited rentals. Number 2, the one unit that's grandfathered has certain stipulations to continue to be grandfathered. But number 3, at the end of the day, if the owner ever sells that unit, that's it. It can never be a rental unit again.
Anthony, can I say something?
Sure. Who is
I
this?
I am not in favor of rentals. So let me preface this with the board does a fabulous job. It is one of the most thankless jobs in the community that you can volunteer to be on. And they do a great job. However, I was not impressed with the way this was handled. There was no meeting to explain to people what was going on, or we had 20 sales in the last 2 or 3 years, and no one brought up about rentals. And we do have I understand you have we have a problem, and I understand the need to prevent future problems. But I do not believe this was handled well, and I object to having 5 people who will be a board, who knows who they will be 5-10 years from now, to decide what is the criteria. It says they get to decide. How do they decide if something is a hardship? This was not explained to people. I have 3 neighbors who told me they were contacted by the board, and they were basically told that there were 4 houses going to be for sale and potential rentals. Obviously this happened but we've had 18 houses sell and none have been bought by investors, because quite frankly, at this point, it's not a good investment for an investor to rent it out. But we don't do those kind of tactics. I mean, 3 people called me, and I'm not on the board anymore. And I keep telling them I'm not on the board, call the board. But I was quite frankly embarrassed that we would do things like that we would say things like that to people. I think there needs to be a clearer definition of what the criteria is for declaring a hardship. And Anthony, we talked about this, and you said you thought very comfortably that 3 of the 5 people would be very calm about it and make good decisions. That may be true, but it may not be true. And certainly it's not anybody in here. I don't want to know other people's business. It's not my place to know, nor is it anybody else's place to know what your financial status is. And if you have a situation where you are taken ill, where you do have to go into a nursing environment, but you're only going to be there for 6-8 months, could you not rent that house so that you have additional income to pay your expenses? These are the things, and again, I'm not against not having rentals, but I am concerned when you have 5 individuals who are going to make a decision as to whether it's financially able. If I die tomorrow and the market goes to Hades in a handbasket, as we all know, the real estate market does, from time to time, maybe my son can't afford to sell it because they're, for whatever reason, or doesn't want to take a big loss on it. And some of you have told me you paid way more money than you could get out now if you had to sell it, if the market went down. So there's nothing to give us a guideline, specific guidelines for how this is going to be 5 years, 10 years down the road. And as I said, just the fact that there was no meeting, Roberta had a very good point with, I understand if we're not having, I'd rather have the Zoom, quite frankly. I wish more people could attend, but they can't or don't. But we should have had some kind of notification that this was coming up, to have people a chance to talk about it and maybe make some suggestions for guidelines. So that's my whole point. So thank you very much.
Hey, Greg, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, Pat had mentioned that comment to me, and I'm glad you brought it up tonight. I think if you look at, I think the issue is going to, whether financials are involved. we're not sure. I think the main criteria would be, do we know the people? Are these people part of the community that we're trying to help and support? I think that's the main thinking in our head, is people who lived here. You know, Pat, you've lived here, and if you say, you tell us, here's the
I'm the new kid.
situation. I'm moving and I'd like my sister to be here. I'm gonna still be owner. I wouldn't see finances coming into the question, but
Well,
I would see
yeah.
that as being a very legitimate request you might make.
But that's what I'm saying is you and I and several of us, we all think in the same vein, but you don't know who's going to be on the board 5 years from now.
I don't think I think what this does, the other one is, I don't think you could come up with a scenario that would get at every situation. I think what we're leaving it
Well, no, I agree.
open to is that exceptions can be made. That's the big thing. There can be, it's not ironclad. I think the whole goal overall was to try and give our community, the whole community, some control over what's happening in the community. And we do it through 5 elected people. Let's hope everyone continues to elect reasonable people. Plus the other big difference is we have a real active management company who really gives advice on all major decisions. Since we've had the management company, and there hasn't been a major decision made in here without the consultation of the management company. And the management company brings to us the expertise of what's going on out there, what's happening at associations. So I would hope that decision-making would like that in here. That's kind of my view on it.
Well, I talked with Anthony, and I did talk about this, and he did make the comment that nobody had a right to see anybody else's finances. I mean, that's just not an acceptable thing. And we talked about that. And as I said, my concern is down the road, because I've been around so long now, not here, but life, I'm getting old, and I admit it, is I've seen when, people get very emotional about things, and someone said to me, well, what if they don't like me? And I'm like, yeah, right. Well, I mean, come on, you can't do that. And you would hope that you would have 5 people. I just, I agree. I hear what you're saying. I just wanted to voice my opinion. As I said, I would agree that we should have had some discussion before people voted to maybe have some added thoughts, that maybe some people would have had some additional thoughts or ways to do things. So, yeah.
Point well taken on that. I think it was a little more complicated than we thought originally.
Can I just give you one other circumstance? I agree, Pat, with what you've just shared. I'm glad you did. As a result of me having over 40 transactions in this development in the last 13 and a half years, I have had families of the parents that went into life care facilities at times ask me, well, can I just keep the house and rent it out for them? And at that time I had to tell them, yes, you can do that. And I had one person, attempt to do it, and they couldn't get a tenant. And so then they put it on the market. But there are estates, there's houses sitting vacant in the development. And again, if we don't have a rule that you can't just buy it and rent it out, people will possibly do that. So we have to cover ourselves there, but we do have to think about the other aspect, as Pat said. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And maybe we could meet and try and come up with some scenarios and guidelines that we might offer a future board.
Right. We have to put something in this amendment that's going to give them the guidelines, like Pat is suggesting.
I have a question. What are we doing with all the vacant houses? There's quite a few.
But they're not out of probate. I know 2 of them are not out of probate. And people don't necessarily, there's one particular house that I know, the family is having discussion as to who's gonna live in the house, whether they're gonna sell it or they're gonna live in it. And the other one is not out of probate. The house next door to me is in probate.
Yeah,
So-
probate is running slow, all because of COVID anyway.
Yep.
And it got very far behind last year. And, many people are taking, 2 and 3 times as long, a year and a half, 2 years to settle estates. When I sold one on, well, I won't say where, it was vacant for 2.5 years because the executor of the estate didn't need the money. The other 7 children all wanted it to be sold and he didn't care. He didn't need the proceeds from the sale. So he left it sit for 2.5 years. So that can happen.
Is there a rule in our development that
Yes. You can't force people to probate an estate any faster.
because that can bring an area down too, a neighborhood down when you have too many vacants?
The
Vacant-
minute those houses go on the market, I mean, we've had,
Sold.
I'm sure,
They'll be sold very quickly.
Yeah.
Not to worry. Don't worry. Yeah.
yeah, the only time when I was looking in here 6 years ago, there were 6 houses vacant on the market and they were all vacant. And, I mean, they sat vacant for probably close to a year. I came back 2 or 3 times just looking. And when I finally decided to move, all 6 get sold within 1 month. It's the market, when the market changes, that just gives people a reason to lower the prices.
Yeah.
Before we open it for
That's
questions,
enough. Hang off of that.
before we open it for questions, Peggy, you want to quickly talk about the holiday party and then we'll open it for questions? Unmute. Unmute your.
Okay, so the party starts Saturday night at 7 o'clock. Please do not come before 7 o'clock because there is a private party going on beforehand.
And if you're
Can you hear
planning on coming, make sure you let Peg and I know.
Yes,
We're
if you're
trying
coming,
to
let
get
us
it out.
know. Okay, yeah, let us know if you're coming, so that way we have an idea of how many people are attending.
Oh, I didn't know that. You could tell 'em.
Okay,
Let me try and answer Roberta's questions that she raised. We still feel like we're not out of COVID. That's why we didn't do this. I know there are other activities running, but they were more activities where people could choose to come and go. We felt this was the best way to get everyone the chance to get at the meeting if they wanted. Hopefully we'll and plus I make this is being recorded tonight. And so anyone who has access to TV or something can look at this meeting on YouTube. Secondly, our plan is to, we'll ask Anthony to mail it to anyone who doesn't have email. Also, we put additional copies in the clubhouse. So additional copies of all the minutes and stuff will be in the clubhouse.
So-
et cetera.
So Greg, at this point, whatever we've presented tonight, the financial information, the culvert, whatever, that's already on the website.
Okay,
However, to your point, tomorrow, we'll send a lot of that same information out via email, to whomever.
okay, good.
So we should be covered.
Peggy's 3 documents.
Personal website. I don't know.
Well, what about the people who don't have email? Are you going to mail them anything or,
Yeah. Anthony's going to
Yeah.
mail tomorrow.
Yeah, we usually, right.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else on the party or Gwynedd Woods or what's happening?
I have a question. Somebody asked me about what a goofy gift. And I told them, no, it was not a goofy gift. They thought they were supposed to spend $25 on a goofy gift. And I was trying to explain to them that we do a what's referred to as a Chinese exchange. And it's not a gag thing. It's a real gift. It's just a fun way to exchange gifts. So I don't know if you want to clarify that in some way.
Well, we didn't want to say Chinese drill or Chinese Christmas. We didn't want to put that out there. So that's why we made it such like a goofy
Oh my
gift exchange.
I sort of figured that's what it was meant, but see, somebody who isn't familiar, and since we have a lot of new residents, I did get asked that question there. And
Yeah,
great, I would like to say again, thanks to everybody. The ladies group came back after our wonderful luncheon last week, and they decorated the tree. Thanks to the guys that brought it down, Dave Hamilton, Rick. It was just great, and they got all the things up, so it's all set. And Paige got poinsettias from Home Depot, and it's going to look absolutely great for the party. So you all did a great job.
Basically, the gift exchange is like, you can steal gifts from each other and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Mhm.
You put all the numbers in a hat and you pick a number out and you pick your gift, and people can steal from each other. That's what's goofy about it.
Yeah, let's not call it a goofy gift because some people might think it's like a joke. Bring a joke. So
Call it
let's
gift
call it
exchange.
a generic gift that's for male or female.
Like Pollyanna or pink elephant or whatever.
Yeah, pink
I'll
elephant.
send another email out.
Yeah.
And booze is always popular.
Oh.
Oh, God, anyone have any questions or thoughts they have, like to offer?
I do, Ann. Did we ever find out what happened with the voting for the bylaw change? Why? Like, I voted right away, and then I got a call from Keith that I didn't vote. And I said, I did vote. Apparently people were taking votes out of an unsecure box in the clubhouse.
Well, no one knows that for sure.
Now,
Well,
I was gonna
where
say,
did my vote go?
I don't know. A few people, their votes were not in the box.
Well, I put it
Yeah.
in there.
No, and that was, quite frank, that was me. I mean, I would go in
Yeah.
maybe 5-6 times during the process, take out the paper ballots out of the box in the clubhouse
yeah.
and, add them to the tally.
Ah, so you're the one.
Yeah,
Hey,
but
you're really getting beat up tonight, Anthony. I don't know.
Yeah, no, exactly. And, I had my windows down and some of them blew out the window. But for the most part, I think we got them. We got them
At
eventually.
this point, I don't care because we won.
I
That's,
think
Well,
next
no, and
time
I
we
think,
should have
you know
more
what,
secure box.
and
but the
I would-
ballot box should be secure.
No, let me tell you.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Some of these people aren't able to get out of their houses. Some of them don't even come down and get their own mail.
I
Their
know.
kids get their
And
mail.
that's exactly where Keith came in.
Right.
And he just lit it on fire saying, okay, here's the list, Keith. These are the people who, our database say. And he pushed everybody, obviously the vote's over the top, number one.
Because some of those people just didn't know about the vote at all.
Yeah.
So going door to door.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
To be honest with you, the way it was written out was confusing for a lot of people.
It was.
That
Very
was
confusing.
another.
Yes, because it said if you didn't vote, it was a no vote. And one lady
Which is-
said, yeah, Keith, you called her and she was very upset that you called her and said, you had to have it in writing, and she was not happy.
Yeah,
So-
I can't register your vote. You have to do it.
Yeah, we can't.
Well,
Yeah.
no, you can't do that.
But Keith, Keith
That's what
just
it
kind of
said.
kicked it in gear and got, quite frankly,
Well,
got you over the top.
I
Plus,
think everybody that can vote's got to vote. Some people didn't want to at all, but if
That's
somebody
their
can vote,
prerogative.
want to vote, they should be able to. That's all.
But on the other hand, although this seems like an obvious beneficial amendment.
By
to
the way, Dina helped with that.
declaration, you had 80% of unit owners vote, which is like unheard of
That's,
in any condo association.
I can't take, my wife here did a lot of the footwork too, so I have to say that.
Oh,
Thank you,
all right,
Dina.
A lot
well,
of stuff. And she didn't know enough, but she explained as much as she could to them. They had a question, she told them where they could go for answers, so.
yeah. But your community responded, more so than most would, so,
that's good.
and
I
that's
think
a done deal, so.
Everybody likes the continuity here. Everybody likes the way the living is. I want to stay here my whole life because I think it's a wonderful place. I like everybody. Everybody's been so wonderful, and I'd like to see it stay that way.
Right.
That's all.
Right.
Right, we all do.
Well, we want to keep it that way.
On that note, I would like to end. But I would say, I just want to make a comment on the culvert situation. We're continuing to work to resolve that. And our ideal is not to have to pay for the whole thing. But even if we do have to do that, I'm sure we can come up with ways that'll be not real.
Is the Biden, when the Biden administration passed the
Infrastructure bill?
the infrastructure bill, is that anything we could be, privy to, or would that help us in any way, or is that just like major roads and bridges and things like that?
You have to do a lot of research.
Yeah.
I think you've done enough research already, so, it's,
We'll see, but we are gonna continue this, it could be a fight, and I know that's what Michael was suggesting, that we really should do legal action, so we'll work with Anthony on this. I have to admit, the amount of work and research has been pretty phenomenal on this. If you go to the Penbridge website, you can see a lot of the documents that Anthony's referring to. So with that, happy holidays, everyone.
Happy
All right. And if you want to listen to this last hour and 45 minutes, get yourself a cup of coffee or a drink, and you can enjoy this.
I think a drink.
I'm gonna have a glass of wine. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
All right, thank you all.
Everybody.
Have a good
night.
holiday.
Thank you.